This guy is a freaking nut job. Why? Because he's one of the richest people to have ever walked the face of this earth. Now think about that for a second. We didn't say the richest person ever. We didn't even say the richest person of the century. This guy's wealth surpasses the wealth of some of the wealthiest monarchs in the history of the world. He's standing at the top with Andrew Carnegie, JP Morgan, and even John D. Rockefeller. That's insane. And in this video, we will look at how Jeff Bezos spends his millions. Let's dive right into the world of lavish living beyond belief. A short bio. We'll start this list off with a simple fact. If Jeff Bezos were a country, he'd be in the 53rd place on the list of countries by GDP. There would be 133 countries that are below him. With that out of the way, let's talk about his humble beginnings. January 12, 1964, a 17-year-old student gave birth to a healthy baby boy in Albuquerque, New Mexico. His parents divorced shortly after. And when Jeffrey was only 4 years old, his mother married a Mexican immigrant by the name of Miguel Bezos. Because he accepted Jeffrey as his son, Jeffrey took his last name. Interestingly enough, Jeff was very gifted from a young age. He spent his youth working on his grandfather's ranch. During high school, he spent most of his time working as a line cook. He was chosen high school valedictorian, and in his speech, he told his class how he dreamed of man colonizing space one day in the future. Princeton was pretty much the same. He graduated summa cum laude with a Bachelor of Science and Engineering. He then moved from corporate job to corporate job until he finally started Amazon in 1993. And the rest, as they say, is history. So how much money does he actually have? He owns 55.5 million shares of Amazon stock. If they were worth only $1, he would have $55.5 million in the bank and enough money to buy a brand new Rolls Royce. But as we all know, those 55.5 million shares are each worth a whopping $3,401.80 as of right now. And now that 11.1% stake in the company is worth a whopping $188.7 billion. How's that for a change? And his entire net worth is estimated to be around $204 billion. This guy makes so much money that it's hard to even explain it. He makes, get this, $3,715 every passing second. It would take the average worker more than a month of 40-hour work weeks to make the money he makes in a single second. And that means every hour is worth approximately $13 million to him. And he's making $321 million per day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. How's that for rich? At his current pace, he could end up buying Buckingham Palace, which is worth a whopping $5 billion, in just 17 days. To say he's more powerful than the Queen would be a major understatement. And how many people does Jeff Bezos employ in just one of his companies? 840,000 people are currently being employed by this online retailer. You just simply can't make these numbers up. What does he spend it on? With all of his money, he still wasn't a big spender. Even when Amazon had a market cap of more than $30 billion in 1999, he still drove an old beat-up Honda Accord. And he was a freaking billionaire at the time. Even in 2013, Jeff Bezos was still being driven to work in a Honda by his wife. So you could safely assume that this guy was not in it for the money. If you listen to his 60 Minutes interview from 1999, he said that he lived in a way so that when he died, he could have very few regrets. Sounds like the polar opposite of Carpe Diem, don't you think? Cars. So there's not much that we can say about this. The guy doesn't really like cars. Until 2013, he was still driving a Honda. But recently, he has been seen being chauffeured in a Cadillac Escalade, Lincoln Stretch Limousine, a Mercedes-Benz S450, and a Range Rover. Guess he decided to up his game since he became the richest man in the world, don't you think? Jets. When it comes to travel, you know that Bezos needs to always be on time. And don't go off thinking that he's booking flights like any ordinary mortal. When he needs to go somewhere, he hops into his private jet and he's on his merry little way. What's the type of jet he owns? We're glad you asked. He owns a Gulfstream G650ER that set him back a whopping $65 million. But it seems like this investment was worth the money, as they say this private jet doesn't require frequent stops, like the other comparable models in this class. Yachts. Even though the internet was on fire after rumors began to spread about Jeff Bezos owning the $400 million super yacht, the Flying Fox, there was no evidence to support those claims. And when Twitter fans became enraged that one person could buy a $400 million yacht while his employees were being paid minimum wage, an official spokesperson for Amazon had to step out and inform the public that Jeff does not own the yacht. Mansions. If cars and yachts were not his thing, then real estate sure is. This guy is really interested in land, and he has bought homes all over the US. For example, he has a $25 million lake house in Medina, Washington, where his next-door neighbor is the second richest person in the world, Bill Gates. He has also bought an extremely lavish $165 million mansion in Los Angeles in the Benedict Canyon. And right after that, he has also purchased the home that was next to it for around $10 million. It has 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and has a surface of 4,600 square feet. And we're not done yet. We also have to mention the 27,000 square foot mansion in the Kalorama neighborhood in Washington, D.C. It has a price tag of $23 million, and as such is the most expensive house in the entire neighborhood. This mansion was a museum in the past. Recently, he has stated that he will be doing a $12 million renovation to the place, and is going to be including a whiskey cellar and a marble staircase. And we're not done yet. In Beverly Hills, he bought a 2-acre property that set him back $25 million. And when we're talking expensive, we can't forget about the 3 linked apartments he bought in the Big Apple, in the Century Building. This one worth around $17 million. So let's see. $25 million plus $165 million plus $10 million plus $23 million plus $12 million plus $25 million plus $17 million equals a jaw-dropping $277 million just in mansions. We're not even considering residential real estate, which is where the big bucks are. Vacations. He had one hell of a summer in 2019. Shortly after the divorce papers with his wife were finalized, and she left with more than $37 billion worth of shares in Amazon. Shortly after that, Jeff was seen going out with his new girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez. For example, they went to the Met Gala in May. And at the Liberty Museum opening, he met with influential and powerful people like Oprah Winfrey, Michael Bloomberg, and David Letterman. They even attended Wimbledon in July. And when Bezos parties, he goes all out. He spent most of his summer vacation on Geffin's $590 million yacht, the Rising Sun, which has a freaking basketball court on deck. During Prime Day, Jeff Bezos organized a concert for around 45,000 employees, and who were the singers? World-renowned artists Katy Perry and Lil Nas X. Guess Bezos really liked Old Town Road because he took Lil's jacket and wore it himself. Companies. This is where Jeff Bezos spends most of his money. If some of the people out there want to buy expensive gadgets and gizmos, this guy spends the majority of his money on companies. First on the list is Blue Origin, SpaceX's biggest competitor in the race to colonize Mars. In Google's formative years, Bezos invested $1 million into the company, which is now worth many times over. He has also purchased the major media outlet, The Washington Post. Next on the agenda was buying Audible, the biggest audiobook company in the entire world, for a measly $300 million. And of course, he bought the organic foods market, Whole Foods, the colossal online store Zappos, and don't forget, IMDb, one of the biggest internet movie databases, which he bought for $55 million. Charity. We can't just talk about all the stuff that he's bought over the years without talking about his contributions to charity. In his lifetime, he has donated to various charities, and his most notable one was to Bezos Earth Fund, which was a check for $10 billion. Before this, he donated $98.5 million to his Bezos Day One Fund, and another $97.5 million to the same fund a year prior. Some of the smaller donations include $35 million to the Dream.us, $15 million to the Princeton Neuroscience Institute, and of course the $10 million to the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle. And on that note, we end this video. But hey, what would you do if you had all the money Jeff has? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you'd like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.